So what is up, guys? Nick here, helping you to master your technology. In this episode, we're going to take a look at the pros of the iPhone 14 Pro months later. So I actually picked this up when it first came out. You've seen a few videos on this one, quite a few more on the Max device, as that's the more popular phone. But the smaller iPhone 14 Pro is definitely quite a bit more popular than the regular iPhone 14, which is kind of like an iPhone 13. So the true upgrade here in the 6.1-inch size range was this iPhone 14 Pro. Now I picked this up because I always like to try out the smaller one, review the smaller one as well as the larger device. And I got to tell you, just like I love the iPhone 13 Pro, this one is awesome as well. I think the very first pro of this iPhone 14 Pro after using it this time is the size to premium to performance ratio. And price. You're paying the same price that you paid several years ago for an Apple iPhone 10, but you're getting much thicker cameras that are much better, definitely replacing point and shoot type cameras these days. You're getting a super premium build like you would expect it on the iPhone 13 Pro. The new Dynamic Island experience, a more beautiful display than ever. A nice weight to the phone, just feels premium in the hand. They made the box white. They should have kept it black to signify it's a Pro. I'll say something about that. But overall, it's just a perfect size phone, I would say, for most people. The next one is the chipset. Having the Apple A16 Bionic in here, we know this A16 is not leaps and bounds better than the A15. The A17 this year should be the next jump unless they go to the M series, but it's probably going to be an A series chip. This chip has just made this phone fly. And I mean, when I say fly, I mean, I feel like I've said this before, like how these iPhones feel like MacBook performers now, but truly using this and using like an M1 series or an M2 series MacBook kind of feel the same. It's incredible the performance you get on here. It's the best performing smartphone on the market that I've seen. Now, there is Android phones that kind of can mimic getting close, but when we actually start breaking it down to the, Geekbench, we start benchmarking them, and you actually take a look at everyday reliability, the iPhone 14 Pro has just stood out to me as just the best performing smartphone out there. And smartphone, not phablet like iPhone 14 Pro Max. This phone, for the size, performance ratio, I mean, you see, it's just ridiculous how fast this chipset is day to day. Like, oh, that doesn't prove anything, Nick Bro. Well, we can go ahead and we can do a benchmark, but I'm not going to do it here. We have speed tests on the channel for that. But I mean, you could really take advantage of it in editing. You could edit things out. You can go ahead and use ridiculously powerful games. Doesn't even get as warm as some of the other phones. They load fast. You can do pretty much everything you want to do. You could take raw photos. It's enhanced, LiDAR scanners. I mean, all this stuff. It's just ridiculously fast, this device. The next one is the Dynamic Island experience up here. So the Dynamic Island, definitely intrudes a little bit on the phone experience when it comes to, watching videos and stuff. But for getting calls, getting, the experience of Dynamic Island, I find it a pretty big pro day to day to use that. It even shows when you're doing things like airdropping, when you're getting calls from people, when you're using timers, all kinds of stuff uses the Dynamic Island, and it's kind of spreads out. It's a cool software feature that really has took this to a level that makes it feel at least a little bit different. Not like majorly so, but still different from last year's phone. Now, the next one is the display is downright beautiful in so many ways. The first way is that, after months later, this brightness, man, this alone could be a reason to pick this up. If you find yourself not liking that smartphones are difficult to see in bright light, this can be major. And I could even see this being major for people who live in areas that get a lot of sunlight all the time. They're outside a lot. This phone right here, bang, it just gets so bright. Now, I find it a little bit too bright for indoor usage. Like if you're going to raise it up at nighttime, it's way too bright. But to see it outdoors, it's incredibly easy to, live with this phone day to day. There are phones where you gotta like kind of peek like this through your eyeballs just to see. You gotta do this, like make some shade so you can actually see the phone. Well, not with this one. The second way this display is super amazing is the ProMotion. Now, obviously 13 Pro had ProMotion as well. It brought it to the iPhone. But when you combine the A16 chip and ProMotion, now you have an even faster performer. Yes, the ProMotion is the same, but the speed enhancements to the already smooth ProMotion that came to iPhone 13 Pro has made this phone feel like the best thing, ever when it comes to performance. So downright beautiful performing display right there. Lastly, Apple retains that really good color accuracy when it comes to their, just kind of the way they tune the colors. I really enjoy how the 13 Pro and the 14 Pro, basically all the iPhones been looking lately. Like you can put it in True Tone and it never gets overly saturated. It never gets like overly too dim. It's a really good look overall. Just really neutral colors. Just overall, it's just a fine piece of technology when it comes to the panel. Now, it doesn't have 3D touch like some of the older iPhones, but it's sharp. It's premium. Like everything about it is nice. Now, it's not the sharpest iPhone display. I think the minis have actually more pixels per inch, but it's just an amazing panel, downright beautiful. It's been a great pro of using this phone. Now, the next one is the cameras are a dream at this point. Now, I talked about how the cameras were, having good bokeh on the other iPhone, and it's the same here because this uses the same sensors as the 14 Pro Max. So I'm just noticing you get a lot more. This is the Pixel Watch, by the way. You get a lot more bokeh on this phone than before when you bring things close, especially when you have that macro mode turned off. You can really zone in on stuff very nicely. And that's just a nice touch. You're not going to see it too much here. But every sensor on this phone has been fantastic, from the macro mode being awesome here to having an extra zoom up to 3x. Now, I wanted them to go a little further than 15, but that's fine for now. 4K 60 on the front, 4K 60 on the rear. Front-facing camera is awesome. And then you have RAW modes that also make this an awesome experience as well. Yeah, so having the 4K 60, the 720, the 1080 to 40 FPS at the slow motion, cinematic video 4K 30, RAW modes, photographic styles, lens corrections, macro controls. There's just so much here that, come on. Like, do you really want to go buy a camera? I use this camera for my videos because I just like manual control of a camera. But honestly, if you want to start a YouTube channel, a TikTok, whatever, vlogs, use your iPhone 14 Pro. It's freaking amazing. It's probably better in some ways than the camera I'm using, the camera other people are using. People got to throw all these fat lenses on the, camera to get it to work, super, good. This, you just point and shoot and you get an amazing photo pretty much every time. Now, the next one is that while it's not better than last year, it has been a pro that the battery lasts all day on the iPhone 14 Pro. You're buying a phone at $1,000 and you want it to last all day. And guess what? This phone does it for you. It really does. It gets through a full day for me, and it does so with blazing fast performance and super smooth experience. So I'm very happy to report that you can buy a 14 Pro and make it through a full day easily. The next one is the always on display that comes with this phone. Now, I have talked about how I was annoyed with some things about it when it first came out, but with the latest updates, they're adding more stuff to it. You can turn off show wallpaper, so now it could just be a darker black. At first, they always showed the wallpaper, and so it could be a little bit distracting. But if you do like the wallpaper and you like to see widgets on there, you can also see widgets if you have widgets enabled for your lock screen. So this has been quite useful, having an always on display for iPhone. You prop it up on the side of your Mac. When you're doing some work, you can quickly glance at the time, especially if like one window is dominating your Mac computer and you don't have to go swipe up to the right corner of the screen to see the time anymore. You could just prop your iPhone there and see it. So always on display has been useful. The next pro of this iPhone 14 Pro that I've experienced is just, it's not really one you experience too much, but it is a thing where it's peace of mind. It's the emergency SOS feature. So having the emergency SOS features available for iPhone is definitely pretty cool. The crash detection, all that stuff. It's a peace of mind insurance. You're really going to like that. So enjoyed that. And lastly, something a lot of people don't really talk about, and it's probably because they don't really think about it too much, but the reception strength, the Bluetooth connectivity, and Wi-Fi performance, it just feels better than before. So I really do like how fast, the speed is of connecting to things like Bluetooth, Wi-Fi signals, things like that, and how great the phone call quality has gotten. The reception strength, it's so much better than before. It's finally reached a pinnacle where I don't have to say this is a problem anymore, because it was in the past. So overall, it's just about the perfect phone right here. Some people will disagree. Size is too small for some people. Well, you got the Max for that. But in terms of a standard smartphone, it's just about perfect here with the iPhone 14 Pro. The dynamic island is not my favorite look on the front of the device. I still dream of an all-screen iPhone. But for now, this is still, darn near everything you would want in a smartphone like this. Apple's going to have to do something different to really, really different if they want. It probably won't, but if they want like a folding or something or flipping or something, if they want to really change it up, because they've reached the top of the game here with the 14 Pro, at least up to this point in 2023. If you enjoyed the video, found it helpful, entertaining, informing, click the like button for me. Subscribe for more. I got Galaxy S23 content coming your way, as well as much more for the rest of the year, and I'd love to have you around. Thank you very much for watching. Nick here. Be sure to be well, and peace.